Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, a discussion with the head of the state agency charged with protecting Arizona's children. And numbers were released today on the Super Bowl's economic impact on the valley. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. The Tohono O'odham tribe has filed a federal lawsuit in response to Arizona's fight against the tribe's planned casino near Glendale. The lawsuit asks for a preliminary injunction that would allow the tribe to open the casino by the end of the year. This comes after the state gaming department announced that it would not certify the new casino, claiming that the tribe committed fraud during gaming negotiations by hiding its plans for a casino in the Phoenix metro area. The lawsuit also seeks $200 million in lost income due to delays caused by the state. And Arizona Supreme Court Justice Rebecca White Burch will retire this year. A court spokeswoman tells the Arizona Capital Times that Burch will likely step down in September. Burch was named to the court by Governor Hull in 2002 and served as Chief Justice from 2009 to 2014. Governor Doug Ducey will select a successor from a list of vetted applicants. The Department of Child Safety, or DCS, is charged with protecting abused and neglected children in Arizona. DCS was formed as an independent agency after the repeated and high-profile failings of its predecessor, Child Protective Services. Joining us now is the director of DCS, Greg McKay. It's good to see you again.
Thank you, Ted. Good to be here.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. We got a lot of questions to ask. We talked about CPS being the predecessor. DCS is here. What's changed?
Well, a lot's changed. We're looking at many things as far as stabilizing this organization moving forward. The major change was when Governor Brewer issued the proclamation that removed the Division of Children, Youth, and Families from the Department of Economic Security to a standalone Department of Child Safety. So, you know, that was, a lot of work went into getting a new freestanding agency that kind of flew alone outside of the umbrella agency that we used to be under. So, you know, it's ours to make now. So there's a lot of work that went into that.
Indeed, and as far as why CPS needed to go, what do you think? Why did it have to go? Why did that change have to be made?
Well, I don't think they had to go. I think that there was some restructuring and I think more of an emphasis on the core elements of what we did. Being contained within a Department of Economic Security was helpful in certain respects, but in some respects, having an autonomous agency with the sole purpose of ensuring child safety, seeking faster permanency, helping strengthening families, I think was a good thing, and it was good for our staff to have kind of a new culture of change, a theory of change to move towards, being a proud workforce. We got an important job, and it's a hard job and a thankless job for so many people. And I think the exclusivity of having our own agency dedicated to that mission is an important step in the right direction.
Were there lessons learned, and are there lessons that can be utilized from CPS, and especially the failings of CPS?
Certainly. I mean, this is the problems of CPS and DCS and child welfare overall have been growing for years. The problems started back in the early 2000s, and child welfare has always been a very challenged government service, protecting children and dealing with struggling families. So the lessons learned are, some of the lessons that we're learning are, everything is about volume. And the amount of volume that our government agency takes in and is responsible for, and the amount of capacity the system has to deal with that volume. And that's from the amount of workforce we have, to the amount of foster homes and foster families we have, to the amount of courtrooms and judges and attorneys we have. So it really is a system that requires shared accountability, a responsibility that goes way outside the walls of Child Protective Services, or now DCS, to make sure the systems run appropriately. So, we're still learning those lessons, but mainly we have to decide what are we responsible for, and that we are mandated to do that and do that well every time to the best of our ability, and not try to be responsible for all things all the time, because there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of what if and a lot of unknown. And one of the biggest problems with our workforce is when they go home at night, can they close their eyes and rest knowing that they did the right thing or didn't do the right thing, and what that potential tragic outcome might be. It's a daunting position to be in.
It is, and I want to get to the workforce in a second, but you're not the first DCS director. The original DCS director was let go, and there were concerns with how inactive cases were dealt with even under his. Why do you think he was let go, and why do you think you were the replacement?
Well, you know, I wasn't part of those conversations. I don't focus on past leaders, or I don't focus on predecessors. I look forward to what do we need to succeed now moving forward. And from the point that I came in on February 11th, that's what we've been doing, restructuring, creating a new leadership team, flattening out the organizational structure, trying to bring valuable resources back into the fold to do the vital job that we have, the mission critical functions that we have, and trying to stabilize the workforce has been really a massive thing, because with employees, every time an employee leaves this department, that continuum of care is broken, and a child and a family ends up suffering from that. You know, so that's something that we know we got to get a handle on to better our communities.
Why are employees leaving DCS? Again, we're hearing reports that a lot of folks are leaving, and some folks are being asked to leave, others leaving on their own volition. What's happening over there?
So DCS and CPS prior to that, child welfare overall always carries a high attrition rate as far as employment goes. Like we said, it's a hard, thankless job. Anytime there's transition, line level staff, supervisory staff, when people don't feel empowered by leadership because leadership is not stable, then how do they feel stable in their daily work? So it creates a lot of churn out there as far as the comfort level of the people that come to work every day. The hours are long, the caseload volumes are immense, the salary is not great, and the liability morally and civilly on this workforce is immense. And when you couple that with administrative changes in leadership and philosophies and direction, it's very frustrating to a workforce, not only a workforce, but a community. The whole larger community is frustrated by these changes.
You mentioned caseloads, and you mentioned money, and you mentioned a lot of things there that make for an anxious workforce, for lack of a better term. How do you change those things? How do you get the money in there? How do you drop the caseloads? How do you keep people from leaving the agency?
Well, first of all, what I said when we first started talking, you know, over the years there's been many, many tragedies in our community and in every community around the United States. And those tragedies, when it comes to children, they generate emotion and reactions by legislators, policymakers, communities. And over time, that has caused almost an over-legislation, an over-regulation of how much government is required to do when it comes to protecting children. And when you get into a position where we are required to do too much for every case with no discretion, then it leaves very little room for focusing efforts on true vulnerabilities, and that's a frustration. And so one is we want to responsibly look at how much are we letting come in the front door? How much are we making reports at our central intake center, our child abuse hotline, and do they need to be reports? So trying to balance out things that we need to go out and be involved in, investigate, deliver services for, remove children for, and what potentially we're doing over and beyond what we should, based on fear of the unknown what-if factor.
That sounds, bringing back the previous director, that kind of sounds like what happened in his situation, in that some of these cases, I don't know if they called it a triage or what they called it, however they handled it, was criticized. You were brought in. It sounds like a similar, how can you change that approach, though? It sounds like that's what he was doing. It's somewhat similar to what you were doing. Is that correct? Is that accurate?
Well, I don't know exactly the technicalities of Director Flanagan's plan and my plan. Triaging based on vulnerability potentially is a way we can look at things, but one of the things we're trying to do right now is we know that Arizona takes in almost more reports for investigation than any other place in the United States of America. that causes system strain all the way down the line. It causes an overloaded workforce with too much caseload. It causes an overloaded system of children in care. It causes a reduction in the amount of available foster homes to take care of children that are in care. And the time to permanency to get kids out of the system just goes longer and longer and longer and longer. So we have to almost come upon a responsible triage system when it comes to certain ways we deal with crises, because crisis management is where this agency's been for many years. And whenever you're managing through crisis, it's very hard to grow and improve culturally and operationally, because everybody is running around just trying to quell, you know, the things that are going to pop up and really cause some serious problems.
Indeed, and cause, again, people to leave the agency. Some people, again, are being fired, though, and we're hearing reports and hearing things that they don't know, there's no rhyme or reason for some of the firings going on there, and that nothing is clear, that you run kind of a my way or the highway kind of administration, if you will.
Right.
Is that valid?
Oh, I don't believe so at all. And there is a problem with that inherently. Personnel rules, personnel laws prohibit discussing why an employee was dismissed from service. You're not allowed to have that conversation. Co-workers aren't allowed to know what took place. There's no coaching, or there's no you know, breaking down that information and understanding why someone left. So what that does is when somebody was here today and gone tomorrow, and there's no reasonable explanation for that, people start to look around and say, when am I next, right? So I think that that's inherently a personnel rule flaw that you can't really talk to people. Now, when it comes to my way or the highway, absolutely not. I know I have a critical mission here, and that mission is involving about 50,000 reports of abuse or neglect this year, over 17,000 children in care, and the time to get them out of the system and into a family, whether that family's their own or a new adoptive family, is running years. And we can't afford to have things that aren't mission critical working towards that common goal every day. What is our mission? That children thrive in family environments free from abuse and neglect. That's what we're aiming towards. And every day people come to work, they have to know we have to ensure child safety, we have to strengthen families, and we have to achieve permanency. And to do that, I need a competent workforce that's able to go out there and engage families. And if I don't have that, I have to build that. And in some situations, we've had to lose some staff to do that. And
we've also had reports, again, it just seems like it never ends. We had the report of the caseworker leaving a business card in a door, and that case ended up tragically with a 22-month-old dead. Alexandra Tercero, 4-year-old, 15 pounds, left in the closet, younger sibling removed, but not her. Again, no real explanation for that. How do you explain these cases still coming around?
Right, well, there's two cases there, and they're a little bit different. And the fact of the matter is that people do horrific things. Human behavior is completely unpredictable. And we have to be really cautious about taking ownership of the evil that people do to children. But that being said, this is the Department of Child Safety. We have a statutory mandate to protect children and ensure their safety, and when we don't, we are responsible. So in the first case you mentioned, the business card on the door, people are driving towards the wrong objective. So they know that they get a report and they have to meet a response time within 48 hours. And they want to get out there and say, I've checked that box, I've moved on, I've done what I was supposed to do. Well, the right answer is I don't check a box until I see a human being and see that that human being is okay. So one of our employees went out, knocked on the door, left a card, checked that box, response time met, never returned. The outcome was catastrophic. So there's no remediating that. We are absolutely, we failed there. Now, obviously, a bad person did that, and the police department is dealing with that bad person, but you know what? We didn't do our duty. You know, we need to do our duty in the future. Now, the other case you cited, there was some other issues at play there, and our department in that particular situation did take some additional steps legally to try to locate and secure those other children, and the outcome was tragic again. So we're looking at that case still from a perspective of exactly what all the breakdowns were. But again, many systems are touching these cases, not just the Department of Child Safety. So I'm really begging for some real shared accountability from all organizations in our communities to really help us. We can't do this alone.
Before we go, there are some thoughts now regarding reunification, that there needs to be more done, that parents need to be watched closer, that the siblings of the kids that are in the system need to be watched closer. Do you think drug testing, do you think required extended counseling for parents, these sorts of things, are those the kinds of things that you think are necessary and should be enacted?
Yes, I do. And the thing is that we have to get to a place where we operate based on an objective set of facts. We don't go out with a theoretical position that children belong with their birth families or children belong with other families. We don't do that. We measure the facts neutrally, and we articulate those facts, and we drive action. And if those actions are reunification efforts, get families support. We do drug testing in those scenarios. People have to drug test. We do have to deliver behavioral health services to families with those types of things. So we support reunification efforts and all those programs that go into that. But frankly, there is waiting lists to getting that done, and that is what is causing the court systems to back up and kids to stay in the system longer and longer and longer in court. You know, they keep extending the case plans out. And then kids are in the system far too long.
Last question. You were quoted, I think during the oversight meeting, as saying things might get worse before they get better. Still believe that?
Yes, possibly. Yes. And I'll tell you why. Because for a very long time, there's been root causes to the problems of this particular organization, cultural and operational root causes. And I think that there's been times with all the pressure, people are sick of hearing about this. It is emotionally heart-wrenching to hear about continuous child abuse and neglect, continuous problem. They want answers. But these answers, you know, they don't just come like that. Mm-hmm. And what I'm committed to is really saying, look, we are pulling the Band-Aid, we're looking at the underlying wound of this place, and we are going to treat it in a way that it is going to be sustainable and improved long term, and we're not just going to do things to capture some type of quick artificial metric to say, hey, we did this, because it's intense. The pressure is on, you know, and I am committed to doing the real things, delivering the real goods, so that down the road our system is better for it. Children are better for it, our communities are better for it, and trust is regained in our organization, and our staff stays employed here because they're proud to do it.
It's good to have you here. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Ted, I appreciate being on.
A study released today shows the economic impact of the 2015 Super Bowl and Pro Bowl held in Glendale. The report was conducted by the Seidman Research Institute at ASU's W.P. Carey School of Business. Here to crunch a few numbers is Seidman Senior Research Fellow Anthony Evans. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Gross economic impact, I'm looking at $719 million.
A very big figure indeed, yes.
How did we come up with these numbers? How was the study done?
Well, we basically followed the same methodology as what we've done back in 1996 and in 2008. We have a primary survey data. So we had a team of surveyors that were out looking, speaking to people who claimed that they'd come to the Valley of the Sun purely for Super Bowl and its related events. That took place over 9 days. We then used those numbers to extrapolate. We had over 2,000 usable surveys, and we put those numbers into an in-plan model, which is a widely recognized commercial model for economic impact analysis. And hey presto, 720 million.
And that compares with, what was it, 500 million?
It is, yes. I mean,
back in the last Super Bowl, I should say.
That was back in the last Super Bowl back in 2008. You have to bear in mind, though, that in 2008, the value of a dollar then would be very different to 2015. So you're talking of probably, in current terms, about a 30-31% increase in economic impact for the value.
Wow. As far as ripple effects, can that, how do you study something like that?
Well, obviously, when somebody spends a buck, or at a bar, at a restaurant, in a hotel, that not only goes to the business itself, it then feeds itself down to the employee in terms of wages, it feeds itself down into suppliers, and then they go out into the community themselves and spend money. So there are a number of indirect and induced effects. We estimate that the visitors to the event itself, be they ticketed or non-ticketed, probably brought in some in the region of $486 million of impact.
And that is, these are people, A, that would not have come here otherwise, B, would not have spent otherwise.
Correct, yes. We certainly excluded any resident spending, any local business spending. We're looking purely at visitors from out of state and organisations that are based out of state and the money they would have invested in here. There's also a little bit of media spend as well from out of staters.
Yes, I noticed that as far as out-of-town media, we had 5,000 folks here.
You had 5,000 folks. It generated around 15 million in economic impact.
See, the media is good for something, huh?
Media was very good.
All right. As far as cost, I know you didn't necessarily look at the cost, but does that have to be factored in, doesn't it?
Our study is a gross study. We look purely at visitors and organisations from outside the state. Yes, I would say, you know, if you wanted a net study, you should factor that in. We haven't actually looked at those figures. I believe that the host committee were talking around a $30 million investment which had to be raised. I think around 5.6 million was probably spent by the cities of Glendale, Phoenix and Scottsdale on public safety and other events. You know, even when you add those up, $35–40 million investment, $720 million outcome, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find something of that nature for 9 days.
And we should mention the study was commissioned by the Commerce Authority and the Super Bowl Committee.
It was.
Tell us, give us a typical visitor, or just give us some numbers regarding who these people were, how long they stayed, how much they spent when they were here.
Okay. We believe that the average visitor stayed for around 4 days at the event itself. The media stayed for 7 days. That event was, their time was actually extended because we had the Pro Bowl at the start, and obviously culminating. You know, we saw major expenditure at hotels, in bars, in restaurants. We saw some retail uptake as well. If you look purely at sales tax figures, I believe that the hotel sales tax in Scottsdale was up 51% year on year. You're talking of restaurant and bar increase in sales tax of around 29% in downtown Phoenix area. Even at Westgate, you're talking of something in the region of 10% higher sales for the same time period. You know, you're talking of a hell of a lot of money that these guys would have been spending in the area. We had over 1,300 celebrities allegedly in the area at that time. You know, sports people, actors, various different people. Obviously spending a hell of a lot of money again in parties. I believe that one of the hotels claimed in Scottsdale to take over a third of its revenue during that 1 week.
My goodness.
An average year.
And then again, we hear people say that yes, but Joe and Mary in Glendale or Joe and Mary in Scottsdale didn't do X, Y, and Z because of the crowds, because of the pricing, because they were locked out of this, or they couldn't, their favorite restaurant wasn't doing that. How does that factor in? How can you factor something like that?
The crowding out factor is normally based upon two principles. One is the fact that local people do not spend. Our study hasn't looked at the spending patterns of local people. We've only looked at the influx of new money into the Arizona economy. The second argument then is that perhaps people would have travelled to Phoenix at that time, decided against it. We're talking of a 9-day window. We're not really talking of that long a window. I think, quite honestly, within Phoenix, people would have come either before Super Bowl or after Super Bowl. If you look at the hotel rates at that time, the average hotel rate, I think, was a record high for the area. Those people wouldn't have paid that money. And as I said, you know, 1,300 celebrities with their various parties, you would not have brought that money into this actual community.
Last question. For critics who say Super Bowls and these big events, they aren't worth it, they don't bring as much money as people say they do, you say?
I say it's been a certain boom for the local economy. It's given the tourist industry an incredible start to the year. We have a fine facility at the Glendale Stadium, and it was important that it gets utilised properly.
All right. It's good to have you here. Thanks for joining us. And Wednesday on Arizona Horizon, we'll hear how educators are trying to keep kids on track during summer months, and we'll meet the author of a new novel that focuses on the drug wars in Mexico. That's on the next Arizona Horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.